Good morning to the leadership of Cotton SA, to the delegates and to the guests who are present here today. It's my pleasure to deliver this address at the cotton industry Indaba. It is the first such Indabas. Unfortunately, I cannot be here in person as I'm currently in Brazil for the 11th BRICS Summit and for discussions with my trade minister counterparts. Your Indaba takes place a week after the hosting of a very successful conference by President Ramaphosa. It was a conference at which investors pledged 363 billion rand in new investment in the South African economy. Your Indaba also takes place during the proceedings of the BRICS Summit, at which South Africa is forging new economic partnerships that can unlock further investment and new market opportunities. The work of the Sustainable Cotton Cluster has been pivotal in establishing strong stakeholder partnerships across the supply chain, bringing together farmers, ginners, spinners, manufacturers, and retailers into integrated supply chains led by local retailers. Of course, cotton is very important as an input globally into the cotton and textile industry. At last week's investment conference, the country's major retailers came together with manufacturers, with the labor movement, and with government to sign the National Sector Master Plan for the retail, clothing, textile, footwear, and leather value chain. The master plan has been developed together with business, with labor and government, in the spirit of true partnership and renewal. It is an important agreement, the first of its kind for this industry in South Africa. The master plan represents a bold vision for the entire retail and manufacturing value chain. Every social partner has been asked to bring something concrete to the plan. Each of South Africa's major retailers in the sector committed to increase procurement of goods from the South African manufacturers over the next decade. The commitment is to increase procurement of locally manufactured products from an average of about 44% today to 65% by 2030. In return, manufacturers and other upstream businesses committed to increase investment in productive capacity, in technology, management, and operator skills upgrading to build a manufacturing ecosystem and to advance transformation and inclusion. Part of this is also to bring workers much more strongly into empowerment arrangements. Organized labor committed to adaptability within a decent work framework so that production and customer cycles are more aligned. Government too will be playing its role to ensure a strong and enabling environment. It will start with an upgrade of customs enforcement to stem illegal imports, a clampdown on illegal manufacturing, providing competitiveness enhancement incentive programs, and maintaining an appropriate tariff and rebate structure, among many others. The sum total of these commitments is expected to grow employment across the entire value chain for clothing, textile, footwear, and leather. And we expect 120,000 additional jobs by 2030, with more than 70,000 jobs expected in the manufacturing part of the industry alone. I'm happy to say that the master plan is already bearing fruit. Retailers have committed in the first phase of implementation to new procurement with an additional 85 million units of clothing, footwear, and textiles from local manufacturers. This commitment will create 28,000 new jobs over the next number of years. As we move through each phase of implementation of the master plan, we will build out the different parts of the value chain and bring in greater levels of investment and job creation in the manufacture of apparels, of textiles, and in the planting of natural fibers like cotton. At last week's investment conference, apparel manufacturers and retailers committed to invest 6.8 billion rand over the next 5 years to build a foundation that will support the necessary growth in the sector. And of course, we need partners within the cotton industry. This cotton cluster has been an important anchor in changing the landscape of the textile and clothing industry. And you've already begun establishing integrated supply chains from farmer to retailer, representing the spirit of what the master plan is all about. The cotton sector has an important role to play in growth and employment creation. The work of Cotton SA, the cotton cluster, and the substantial support provided by the Department of Trade, Industry and Competition has resulted in the revival of the cotton industry, which has created opportunities for investment and employment creation from farming to retail. Just 5 years ago, production was really down and the industry, the cotton sector, was in absolute crisis. I'm glad to hear that production is beginning to recover and that there's scope, in fact, to grow further. We will continue to fly the flag for the South African cotton industry, whether it's out here in Brazil or elsewhere in the world, so that we can open new markets beyond South Africa's borders as well. The recently launched African Continental Free Trade Area, which will come into operation from July next year, provides additional opportunities for growth and development in the industry. We will need more textiles spun, woven and finished here on the African continent. And this industry in South Africa is well positioned to be part of that. The development of the local industry can also play a role in replacing imports. The master plan will explicitly focus the efforts of manufacturers, of workers, and of government in combating illegal imports and illicit trade. But we must also embrace the challenge of competitiveness. The achievement by the cluster are impressive, and it's important that this work continue so that momentum is kept in order to further grow production, employment, and investment. Government is a partner, as we've outlined in the master plan, and we are encouraged by the commitment that is evident from the retailers involved in the new SA Cotton cluster to strengthen partnerships and invest in the local supply chain. We're also confident that the other social partners will contribute to realizing the goals of the master plan. This is like a bring and braai. Everybody must bring something new, and everybody would be able to take something from the new plan. It's a plan founded on growth, founded on partnership, and founded on ensuring that South African consumers get great value when they buy South African-made goods. I wish you well in your indaba and hope your deliberations can strengthen implementation of the master plan. Thank you.